Thank you for taking time to meet with the team. Unfortunately, after careful consideration, we've decided not to move forward at this time. Okay. Thank you for taking the time to complete the evaluation for the senior front-end engineer position at company XYZ. We will be focusing on other candidates who are better fit for this particular position. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us in regards to the senior front-end engineer. While we are very impressed with your experience and skills, we will not be moving forward with your candidacy for this role. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about company XYZ. We have decided to move in a different direction. Send help. Send help right away.
Hey, let's do get help.
What?
Get help.
No.
Come on, you love it.
I hate it.
It's great. It works every time.
It's humiliating.
Do you have a better plan?
No.
We're doing it.
We are not doing get help.
Get help! Please! My brother's dying! Get help! Help him!
Classic.
Still hate it? It's humiliating.
No, not for me, it's not.
Rejection, 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 rejection. That is the life of a software engineer when looking for a job. Hey developers, welcome to the Tech Rally channel where we talk about life as a software engineer, sharing developer stories, and giving tips and tricks on how to break into tech. If anything of that is interesting to you, I highly recommend you to hit that like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. As you may or may not know, I got a new job recently going from a startup to Amazon as a front-end engineer, and if you didn't see that video, I'll put that up in one of these corners. I wish I could say it was a smooth ride. Amazon was the first company I interviewed at, and then I got the job, but that is far from the case. I got rejected from various different companies, and it was definitely a humbling experience. Looking back at it now, I'm so glad that I was able to interview with so many different companies because it only helped me in the long run. I was so rusty and unprepared during these interviews, it only made sense that I got rejected. So before I start, I want to let you know that rejection is part of the process, and I've never met a software engineer that hasn't got rejected. Don't feel too bad if you're in a slump or you're just getting rejected a lot. And hopefully hearing my story and me sharing my tips on how to better interview will get you that next job. When I started looking for a new job, I was pretty confident in myself. I was working 5 years as a front-end developer. I knew my JavaScript because I was practicing it every day. My familiarity with React was at an all-time high. I really felt that my skills could easily translate into a new front-end role, but no. I had to eat a bit of a humble pie.
Oh, no. No.
To be honest, the first company I interviewed at, I thought I killed it. It was for a senior front-end engineer position for an ed tech company. I passed the take-home test, I made it to the final round. Your standard stuff when interviewing and talking to people were the engineers, the PM, and the director. And it was a good mix of a coding challenge, system design, and just sharing my work experience as a software engineer. Was I perfect? No. I definitely could have improved in some small areas, but I thought it was kind of negligible if they were to ding me for that, all things considered. It is an interview environment and you gotta work with what you got. Obviously, you probably already know I did get rejected. At the time, it was crazy to me because I felt so confident about how I did. When I read the email that I didn't get the job, I just went to my usual go-to, which is sending a thank you email and asking for feedback if possible. Not all companies will give you this information, but if they do, I would 100% take it to heart what they tell you. Luckily, this recruiter did give me some feedback. She said they needed more detail in the system design question and a clearer framework for conflict resolution. So when I saw this feedback, this was pretty surprising to me, not because I thought they were wrong, but maybe I didn't do as well as I thought. This is where I really took the time to reflect on my interview, and I realized 3 things. Number 1, during a technical interview, take your time to fully understand the question before implementing your solution, writing code, or even writing pseudocode. When I got my system design technical challenge, I was way too eager to get started that I didn't realize that there were so many different layers to the question. Even though I was able to adapt during the process, it probably would have been better if I identified those edge cases before I even started. It's good to read the question not just once or twice, but multiple times to make sure you clearly understand what you need to solve. Just to confirm you know what you need to do, write it down on a piece of paper and say it out loud to your interviewer. After you read the prompt multiple times, if you have any questions, ask your interviewer about the edge cases or anything you might not have considered. Having that early information up front would have significantly helped me come up with a better solution because context is everything here. Being able to reflect where I could have improved was such a great learning experience for me, and during my next interviews, I was better able to organize my thoughts and articulate before even starting or coming up with a solution. Number 2 is the software engineering interview is not just technical. Come prepared with your stories. This is something I did not do. It sounds so obvious to have your stories ready to go and ready to share. I worked at my company for 5 years, but weirdly enough, I didn't remember everything about it. So a lot of my stories weren't concrete, it didn't really have any good conclusions, and overall, I didn't prioritize this part of my interview, which was really dumb on my part. When I got that feedback about a lack of conflict resolution, it was a wake-up call for me. I immediately opened up a Google Doc and wrote down everything I had accomplished, how I dealt with conflicts and disagreements, and overall just making sure I knew what stories I wanted to talk about to highlight myself. One thing that really helped me moving forward with my next interviews was the STAR response method, which is situation, task, action, and result. I will probably go more in depth about this in a different video, but a short summary of each one would be: situation, describe the situation or challenge you faced at work. Task, what was your responsibility for the situation? Action, how did you complete the task? What strategies did you use to accomplish them? And result, explain the outcome. If you can back it up with numbers, that's even better because interviewers love when you're able to kind of give some kind of context about how much you improved their application performance and whatnot. On top of having your stories ready to go, putting them in a STAR response method is going to help structure your answers. No ums, uhs, or whats. Yes, I want to emphasize that technicals are important during a software engineering interview, but really having your stories in check is just as important. Number 3, you need to practice your coding problems. There's no way around this. I wish I could tell you that I have the secret book or Rolodex that will reveal what questions employers will ask you. Unfortunately, I do not, and that's probably why coding interviews are so hard. If we knew all the answers to the tests, we'd all be super senior software engineers. But there are some tried and tested ways to best prepare yourself for them. The obvious one is studying algorithms, but what else can you focus on? And this really depends on the type of job you're interviewing for. If this is a front-end role, you should know your JavaScript, CSS, HTML fundamentals. If the job description has a front-end framework mentioned, you should probably know how to build an app using it. If you don't know the framework, at least take a tutorial on it so you could get yourself familiar when talking to your interviewer. When I say JavaScript and knowing JavaScript, don't just learn the built-in functions like map, reduce, for each. Actually build something in vanilla JavaScript. So a calculator or tic-tac-toe app, anything that you could do to exercise your brain to solve problems using that specific language will really help you in the long run. If this is a backend position, you probably are expected to have some familiarity with a backend framework and a coding language like Python, Java, C#, whatever the job description says. Also, preparing for database management systems like SQL, Postgres, and even NoSQL systems like Mongo should be on your radar. Like I said, read the job description and adapt accordingly. After learning these 3 things, I still failed a lot more interviews. This might be a hot take, but I really feel that interviewing for mid to senior level positions is harder than junior developer roles. What I mean by that is not necessarily getting the interview, but passing it. Especially because the type of money you're expected to get in terms of your salary is so high, companies want to make sure 100%, if not 110%, that they really want you. So let us acknowledge that coding interviews are very hard, regardless of what level you're at. Failing your job interview, especially in tech and software development, is expected, so don't beat yourself over it and use it as a learning experience. If anything, it's a rite of passage that you are one step closer to being a software developer. If you do get rejected, try to get feedback from your recruiter. Worst they can say is no, but if they do tell you, take notes and remind yourself of what not to do. Alright, now that you know how much I failed during my coding interviews, I hope my story can give you some comfort if and when it happens to you. Like all interviews, there is some luck involved, so don't feel too bad if you fail a few or even a lot. And for those of you that are looking or even starting your journey, I say keep building developers, your time will come. Tech Rally out.